I am really keen to get a paramotor at some point. I've got no money at the moment, so if my business picks up, I get some money coming in, I'll start saving up for one. To get your paramotor endorsement from a Paraglider, you need a PG4, but I am a PG4, so that's all good. It'd just be nice to, I just want the motor so I can go exploring more and fly the low wind days when paragliding is not really an option. And I think it'll be also good if I do a bit more bush flying. Yeah, I'm getting lower here. This wind might be dying off. This could be a really low wind day, and it's kind of days like this, which is why I want a motor, so I can still go out and fly and explore and have a good time. I'm definitely keen to get a motor. I reckon I'll have some awesome adventures on one of those as well. Something a little bit different to the Paraglider, but a lot of the skills poured across, so I don't have to do a bucket load of retraining. You know, the hardest thing with paragliding and paramotoring is the kiting of the wing and the launch. Although paramotors, from what I understand, are a bit different. With a paramotor on launch, you've got to lean back, whereas a paraglider, you lean forward. Paramotors are often forward launches, paragliders are usually reverse launches. So I guess the launch on the paramotor is a bit simpler, but I don't like forward launches because it's harder to check the wing and make sure it's good. When you reverse it up, you know, it comes up right in front of you, you can see exactly what it's doing and see exactly what the air's doing. When you bring it up behind you, it's out of your field of vision, which to me isn't so good. I'd rather see what's going on than not. So about 9 months later, I started looking around just to get an idea of how much it was going to cost me to buy a motor and to see what the kind of deals were like and all the equipment I'd have to get. And one of my first points of contact was just to message Adrian, just to touch base, and on the spot he offered me a Skymax Paramotor with a Vitarazi 185 Plus Motor motor. I started doing my homework on the rig and was really impressed with what I found. The Vitarazi Motor 185 Plus is the most popular motor on the market, high performance and got loads of power, plenty for someone like me. And the Skymax Paramotor frame has a really good reputation as well. It's made in Russia, hoops made of titanium, so it can be bent back into shape if you bend it up. And Adrian assures me it's pretty strong and can withstand some pretty reasonable impacts. So we do a bit of a hang test down at Backpack Air Sports, just to make sure that the motor fits me, that it's comfortable, and that it's all trimmed up properly. I was pretty surprised at how comfortable the motor actually is. I thought that having all that weight on my back was not going to be fun. I have a bad back, so I was a bit worried about that. But yeah, walking around with it on wasn't really a problem. And then sitting upright in it, it actually has quite good lumbar support in the harness. So I think I could actually manage quite long flights in this paramotor, and I'm not going to be uncomfortable. Back's nice and supported. This airstrip is called Granite Fields. It's privately owned, and it's near Sedan in South Australia. And this is where I'm doing my powered paragliding endorsement. There's a lot of activity here. Here's Darren demonstrating a takeoff. By watching the flight, I'm noticing there's quite a few differences between launching and landing paragliders to paramotors. A bit more of a complex process. Also a lot of aeroshoot training and aeroshoot fun going on around here. Good to see. Adrian's put me in a training frame and I'm just practicing my kiting. My first couple of days, that's all I did, just kiting and kiting and kiting the wings, setting up, doing my forward launch practice, doing my reverse kiting, just trying to get it all down pat and perfect so I can nail my first launch. Okay, let's see how good I've gotten. Alright, nice smooth inflation, nice steady kiting of the wing, good forward movement, head check, there it goes, and a nice drop. Pulled the Skymax out and put the propeller on it, giving it a warm up, and now I've got to do dry runs, just running around, feeling the power, preparing myself for the launch sequence. Just getting used to it one step at a time. Feels really awkward leaning back while I'm running. It's something I need to practice over and over again to get right. And as a bonus, it looks really good. Straight into my first dry run takeoff, all up with wing, motor and power. So I went into the launch sequence. I think Adrian was happy for me to take off, but I did abort it. Okay, just had my first solo flight on my motor. God, it was amazing. So it was not very good conditions, still wind, switchy, little thermals coming through, and it ended up being a crosswind kite up. This idiot's going to try and run me over. And yeah, so kited the wing up, checked it, applied power, and took off nice and smooth. It was pretty rough and wobbly once I was up. It was rough conditions, pretty thermic, and I was flying under a cloud, so I was getting bashed around a fair bit. And also not used to, the wing, not used to the torque of the paramotor, not used to the throttle control or the weight shift of it. So after stuffing around up there for a bit, I started getting used to it, and managed to smooth it all out. Did some practice runs with approaches, and then the communication stopped working with Adrian, which kind of sucked because I was expecting to be talked in for a landing. Ended up having to do one without being talked in, and botched it. Ended up face planting and leading edge smacking my wing down. I failed to turn the engine off on approach, and then when I hit the ground I squeezed the throttle. The thrust pushed me forward and drove my face straight into the ground. I guess a bit of pain will teach me not to do that again. Damage, no injuries. Wasn't happy with the landing, but I'm sure I'll get better at that with practice. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience. Very different from flying a paraglider. You have freedom. You're up there, you can just go wherever you want. Climb up to the clouds, climb over the clouds. Fly in any direction. It's a lot of fun. Good times. Really happy that Adrian did that. So it's only my second time out to the field here, and I'm already up and flying. So what a fantastic day this was. This is one that I'll never forget. This will be continued hopefully in part 2. The only issue I'm having with this is the cost. Work's a bit hard to come by, and I'm struggling to pay for the paramotor. Paramotors aren't cheap. I guess that's the downside to being an adventure bum. I'd also like to make a big shout out to Mum. Thank you very much for coming down and filming my first solo. You did a really good job, even though it's the first time you've actually messed around with a GoPro. I love you very much.